Welcome back to Graveyard Dance. This week, we will be looking into a story that captivated the news headlines back in the early 2000s. No matter what news source you watched, everywhere you looked, you saw the beautiful smile of a young woman who was on her way to becoming a mother for the first time. In a sad and sickening twist of fate, all those plans would be ripped away from her. What kind of animal could do such a thing to such a pretty, sweet, and obviously well-loved person? We'll get to all that in a moment, but before we do, we'd like to tell you about our website, graveyarddance.com. Here at Graveyard Dance, we carry a huge array of stories ranging from UFO and alien abduction cases, true crime like the one you're listening to now. We also have dark history, unsolved mysteries such as missing persons cases, and even many cases of ghosts, hauntings, strange curses, and just about anything else you can think of that's spooky, dark, and weird. Also, if you're there on the site, we have many cool things there you may want to check out. We have all our social media buttons where you can like our work, share it, and check out our sponsors while you're there. This month, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, and we have several cool spooky designs that will be added to our merch, so check out our merch shop as well. Grab a drink and a snack, your favorite cuddle buddy, and let's dive into the tragic story of Laci Peterson. Before we start the story, I just have to say this. Looking at all the photos we found for the story, Laci looked like just the sweetest, most lovable person to be around. Her happy smile and the joy she must have brought to the room had to have been immense. For the life of me, I hear case after case of this happening, and it baffles me why. Why a man would kill such a vibrant lives. She was pregnant with his own son, for God's sake. I just don't get it. I understand that in relationships, sometimes the new wears off, or maybe you're not wanting the same things out of life. It's understandable, but why kill? Why not just be man enough to say, I want out? Guys like this to me are the biggest cowards there are. Scott Peterson, I hope you serve your full sentence, and God gives you a nice toasty spot to spend your afterlife. I'll get off my soapbox now. Laci Denise Rocha was born on May 4, 1975 in Modesto, California. She grew up in a loving family with her parents, Sharon and Dennis, and her older brother, Brent. Laci was known for her bright smile, kind heart, and love for animals. She enjoyed gardening, a hobby she picked up from her mother, and was always surrounded by friends and family who adored her. Scott Lee Peterson was born on October 24, 1972, in San Diego, California. He was the only child of Lee and Jackie Peterson. Scott was a charming and ambitious young man who excelled in sports and academics. He attended California Polytechnic State University, or Cal Poly as it's otherwise known, in San Luis Obispo, where he studied agricultural business. Laci and Scott met in 1994 at a small cafe in Morro Bay, where Scott worked as a waiter. Laci was immediately attracted to Scott's charm and good looks. They started dating, and their relationship quickly blossomed. Laci's friends and family were happy for her, as Scott seemed like the perfect match. Laci and Scott got married on August 9, 1997, in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. They settled in Modesto, California, where they bought a charming bungalow on Covina Avenue. Laci worked as a substitute teacher, while Scott managed a restaurant and later worked in the fertilizer business. Laci was known for her warm and friendly personality. She loved hosting family gatherings and decorating their home. She was also an avid gardener, spending hours tending to her plants and flowers. Scott, on the other hand, enjoyed golfing and fishing. They seemed like a happy couple, and their friends and family admired their relationship. In 2002, Laci and Scott received the exciting news that they were expecting their first child. Laci was overjoyed and eagerly prepared for the arrival of their baby boy, whom they planned to name Connor. She decorated the nursery with care and often talked about her dreams of becoming a mother. On the morning of December 24, 2002, Laci was 8 months pregnant. She had plans to bake cookies and prepare for Christmas Eve dinner with her family. Scott claimed that he left home around 9:30 a.m. to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina, about 90 miles away. He said that when he returned home later that afternoon, Laci was gone. Scott called Laci's mother, Sharon, to ask if she had seen Laci. When Sharon said she hadn't, Scott reported Laci missing to the police. The community of Modesto quickly rallied together to search for Laci. Volunteers distributed flyers, organized search parties, and held candlelight vigils, hoping to find her safe and sound. As the days passed, the police began to focus their investigation on Scott. They noticed that his behavior was unusual for a husband whose wife was missing. Scott seemed calm and detached, which raised suspicions. The police also discovered that Scott had been having an affair with a woman named Amber Fry. Amber Fry was a massage therapist from Fresno, California. She had met Scott in November 2002, and he had told her that he was single. When Amber learned about Laci's disappearance, she contacted the police and agreed to cooperate with the investigation. She recorded her phone conversations with Scott, which provided crucial evidence. The police also found inconsistencies in Scott's alibi. He claimed to have been fishing at the Berkeley Marina, but there were no witnesses to confirm his presence there. Additionally, Scott had made several suspicious purchases in the days leading up to Laci's disappearance, including a new truck and a boat. On April 13, 2003, a couple walking their dog along the San Francisco Bay discovered the remains of a small baby. The next day, the body of a woman was found nearby. The bodies were identified as Laci Peterson and her unborn son, Connor. The discovery was devastating for Laci's family and friends, who had held out hope that she would be found alive. Laci Peterson's remains provided minimal information regarding her cause of death when they were discovered along the shore 4 months after she went missing. Although an official cause of death was never established, prosecutors contended during the trial that she had been smothered. Peterson's body was found in a state of significant decomposition, washed up on the shores of San Francisco Bay. An autopsy failed to definitively ascertain a cause of death. Notably, her body was located separately from that of her unborn child, who was later named Connor. At the time of her death, Laci was 8 months pregnant. The remains of Connor, which were mostly intact due to being protected while in utero. The police arrested Scott on April 18, 2003, in La Jolla, California. He was found with a large amount of cash, several credit cards, and his brother's driver's license. Scott's appearance had also changed. He had dyed his hair and grown a beard. The police believed that he was planning to flee the country. Scott's trial began on June 1, 2004 in Redwood City, California. The prosecution argued that Scott had killed Laci to escape the responsibilities of fatherhood and to continue his affair with Amber Fry. They presented evidence that Scott had researched ocean currents and purchased a boat shortly before Laci's disappearance. The defense argued that there was no direct evidence linking Scott to the murders. They suggested that Laci had been abducted and killed by someone else. However, the jury was not convinced. On November 12, 2004, Scott was found guilty of first-degree murder for Laci's death and second-degree murder for Connor's death. On March 16, 2005, Scott was sentenced to death by lethal injection. He was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he remained on death row for many years. Most of Laci's family was relieved that justice had been served, all but her sister Janie, who somehow believes, even to this day, that Scott is innocent. Even Scott's own sister knows he's guilty. Regardless, they continued to mourn the loss of their beloved daughter and grandson. Scott spent many years on death row, maintaining his innocence and appealing his conviction. In 2020, the California Supreme Court overturned his death sentence, citing errors in jury selection during his trial. However, his conviction for murder was upheld. In 2021, Scott was resentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Laci's family continued to honor her memory. They established the Laci and Connor Search and Rescue Fund to help other families of missing persons. They also advocated for laws to protect pregnant women from violence, resulting in the passage of the Unborn Victims of Violence Act, also known as Laci and Connor's Law. In 2024, Scott was granted a status hearing because a legal group claimed they had new evidence to support his innocence. This development has brought renewed attention to the case, but many people still believe that Scott is guilty and should remain in prison. Let's hope he rots there. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree on his guilt? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Laci Peterson's story is a tragic one, but it's important to remember her for the wonderful person she was. She was loved by many, and her memory lives on in the hearts of her family and friends. Her legacy continues to inspire efforts to protect and support victims of violence. Our hearts and prayers go out to Laci's loved ones. May she rest in peace with baby Connor. We hope you enjoy our stories enough to consider smashing that like button along with the subscribe one too. Head over to our site, graveyarddance.com, and you can find more interesting stories, just like this, as well as the social media bar down at the bottom of the page where you can find all of our social medias. Till next time, thanks for watching.